So it is 6 o'clock. So good evening, everyone. I will call this regular meeting of the Village of Fundy-Albert Council for December 3rd, 2024 to order. First matter of business is the adoption of the agenda. The agenda for this evening's meeting was circulated in advance. I would propose the addition of item number 12, public comments and statements. This would make the closed session item number 13 and the adjournment item number 14. Do all councillors present consent to the proposed addition of the agenda items? Yes. All being in favor, I'll accept a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. So moved by Councillor Coates, seconded by Councillor Elderkin. Any discussion on the motion? Not all in favor, signify by stating aye. Opposed, if any, motion's adopted unanimously. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare in relation to the items on the agenda this evening? Not hearing any. We'll move on to the adoption of the previous minutes. There are 3 sets of minutes to approve this evening. Those of the regular meeting on November 5th, 2024, those of a special meeting on November 14th, 2024, and those of the Committee of the Whole meeting on November 19th, 2024. The draft minutes of the regular meeting on November 5th, 2024 were circulated in advance of this meeting. Are there any errors or omissions to report?
Sorry, you said the November 5th?
Yes.
Sorry. I have a couple of things. 6A under Patrick Kemp, Cooperative Bank. The very last line where it says Mr. Kemp was further informed that council would discuss his request at an upcoming committee of the whole meeting. I think that was very clear that we were trying to do it for December committee of the whole meeting, that it wasn't going to make the November committee of the whole. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're kind of parsing, but if you wanted to reflect the December Committee of the Whole, we can do that.
Yeah, thank you. And the other thing was under the councillor statement for me, I did attend the Albert County Chamber of Commerce Awards, not the meeting.
Okay.
That was it.
We'll make sure that those amendments are made to the. So with those amendments, are there, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as amended by Councillor Elderkin? So moved by Councillor Elderkin, seconded by Councillor Jonah. Any discussion on the motion? Not all in favor, signify by stating aye. Opposed, if any, motion's carried. The next minutes are those of the November 14th, 2024 special meeting. The draft minutes of the special meeting on November 14th, 2024 were circulated in advance of this meeting. Are there any errors or omissions to report? Not hearing. Oh, yes, Deputy Mayor.
I agree with the contents of the minutes. I think we should have them amended to indicate for every motion that was carried that we indicate either unanimously or what the vote was. Unlike the other minutes that we're having tonight, this one here just is using the term motion carried.
Well, unless we have access to that exact information, we'll have to go back to the audio or video, whatever the case may be, and we'll have to determine what the vote was.
Yeah, I have a hunch that they were always unanimous there,
but without knowing for certain, then we'll delay the approval of those minutes. Thank you. The next minutes are those of the November 19th, 2024 Committee of the Whole. The draft minutes of that meeting were circulated in advance of this meeting. Are there any errors or omissions to report? Not hearing any. I'll accept a motion to adopt the minutes as circulated. So moved by Councillor Coates, seconded by Councillor Land. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, if any? The motion's adopted unanimously. Item number 5 on the agenda is the consent agenda. There are no consent agenda items for this evening's meeting. We'll now move into public and administrative presentations. There are no scheduled 5-minute public presentations registered for this evening's meeting, but we do have a 2-minute public presentation registered at the door by Ms. Shauna Butlin on the topic of Alma Rec Council request for partnership with Fundy-Albert to get liability insurance. So Ms. Butlin, if you would like to step up to the podium, please, and you do have 2 minutes, so I will be watching the time if you don't mind. You go ahead anytime you're ready.
Insurance will be forced to close. 61 years of traditions will become just memories. We respectfully ask the council to renew our MOU that's been in place for the past 3 years to ensure we retain liability insurance. We want to be clear that we are not searching for financial assistance, just a collaboration to secure the coverage. Without this, we cannot operate and we're done. We've made every effort to obtain liability insurance independently, though we have been declined by providers. Securing coverage on our own is impossible. We can now only rely on municipality support to survive. Without our Alma lacks organized recreation activities. Our programs complement those in other parts of Fundy Albert, offering dance classes, outdoor skating, holiday events like Santa at the Ring and more. Many other programs from Lower Coverdale to Albert use our facilities. Our programs directly support Fundy Albert's goals of health, wellness, and community engagement. Providing our youth the safe, inclusive space, something needed when only 18% of our students in our region are reported a sense of community and belonging. Our parking lot provides overflow parking for beach visitors. We host spring cleanup. This year we installed a new rink liner, which is currently holding ice. We fixed the boards, interior painting, and more, and we secured grants, new flooring. Finally, we're reopening our canteen this winter to generate some revenue. Without liability insurance, none of this will matter. Our programs will end. We will lose an essential, vital part of what makes Alma livable. People who live here make our tourist village function. Without a recreation center, there's yet another reason for families to leave, not move here, or invest in Alma. We ask for your support to work together to renew our MOU, help us protect this space, and ensure ARC continues serving the people of Fundy Albert for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right on time. Thank you very much. No, actually stay right there if you don't mind. We'll just go around and see if any of the councillors have any questions for you. Councillor Ward Russell, any questions for Mrs. Butler?
Thank you very much. It's spoke from the heart, so it's gonna take basically. So thank you for your presentation, and I'm sure council will be talking with you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Elder.
Well done. I know how long the rink's been around. I'm not going to date myself, but it's been around a long time, and it has always been part of Alma and should always be part of Alma. Thank you very much for taking the time to come to a presentation.
Councillor Land.
Thank you for your presentation. Glad to see you're involved in keeping things alive. Takes a lot of work. That was years ago up there as well. So it's very important. We support you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Errol.
Well, thank you. And I know a number of other members of the board from the Alma Rec Council are here. Thank you so much. As the council may be aware, I am the liaison person for the council for their board. I've been meeting with them on a number of occasions recently. I know our chief administrative officer is involved. You're probably aware all of our insurance for Fundy Albert expires at the end of December, and we're in the process of renewing that. And I know administration is working on that. And that the Rec Council has been underneath part of Fundy Albert insurance policy for liability. And this is key. This is the message here, that it's essential, really, that somehow we find a way. The insurance company's got a lot to do with this, but in the end, it'll be in part us who need to dig deep if necessary to make this happen. So thank you. Thank you to everybody. And thank you to our administration for the work they're doing. And we got our fingers crossed.
All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Jonah.
Great presentation. Definitely like a very active, well-maintained outdoor arena and any build. The second part of them. It's going to be done for. It's going to stay there. It's going to remain active. Thank you for all the volunteers. Without the volunteers, it would be happening. And thank you for each and one of you that is working.
Thank you. Councillor Coates.
The insurance liability is really a tough job right now. It's in, they're cutting from people, so we'll invest it and see what we can tell. And the CEO will give us our direction on it.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Butland. Thank you for your presentation. Council will obviously take your comments and your request into consideration as we go through our budget deliberations, and also it will be the subject, it won't be decided here tonight. That's not the way that council operates. It'll be the subject of a conversation during the committee of the whole, and there'll be an opportunity for administration to explore that option. If it's been past practice to do that, then we obviously will need to reach out to the insurance provider to make sure that, you know, that's a possibility. But anyway, at some point, we will be providing you a response. All right, so thank you very much. So that ends the public and administrative presentations. So we'll now move on to reports and recommendations from committees and private meetings. So the first matter to consider is a motion to enhance fiscal reporting to include subunits and project performance. So I believe Councillor Ward Russell, you wish to read that motion?
Thank you. Whereas regular fiscal monitoring of revenues and expenditures allows comparisons to the budget in order to identify discrepancies and promote awareness of fiscal and operational performance of the municipality and its operations and projects. And whereas the budgets are created in part accordingly to planned revenue and expenditures are shared among subunits. And whereas regular fiscal reporting accordingly to subunit permits easier preparation of next year's budget, which has unique tax rates established according to individual subunits. And whereas the council recognizes the enhanced fiscal reporting requires administrative resources to implement and maintain, the council also believes that this is needed to receive proper rates among subunits, and the enhanced fiscal reporting is essential. Be it resolved that the council hereby directs administration to begin effective immediately, provide regular reports on fiscal position of revenue and expenditures according to the individual subunits and the aggregate total for the municipality. Additionally, the regular report shall identify areas of the approved work plans that are failing to be achieved or to be expected to cost considerably more or less than budget.
So moved by Councillor Ward Russell. Is there a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Arrow. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Ward Russell, I'll let you speak first.
I think it's well described in the motion as this, and we've had a couple conversations on this, so I have nothing more to add.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Arrow, anything to add?
No, other than that, I've been hoping for this for many months, and in the end, it was necessary that we do this motion to implement. It's possible that in the future, if in fact we do collapse the number of subunits that have different tax rates, as we appear to be aiming towards, but we're not there yet, that the need for this will be diminished and perhaps be eliminated. But until such time as that happens, I think it's very important.
Okay, thank you. I'll begin by adding a few comments and maybe some questions for council to consider. So I'd like to better understand what the goal and benefits would be of reporting by subunit. If costs are shared according to the inside-outside rate and taxation rates for the local districts are the same, would then this not be a lot of additional work with little to no benefit? And it's also recognized in the resolution that this would require additional administrative resources to implement, or possibly. What would the additional work be for administration to set this up? In the motion, it refers to effective immediately. The administration, I'll let our Chief Administrative Officer speak. They're not in a position to report on this effective immediately. It would require things to be set up in the accounting software, possibly, or it would have to be some other means of accounting for it. But I will be asking our Chief Administrative Officer to speak to this. And would then someone not be required to manually calculate the coding on each invoice for a shared service? If that's the case, then that's additional workload. Does our current accounting software allow for this level of reporting? It's Sage. I don't know whether it does or not. So those are some of the considerations. I'll let the other councillors speak, but I would urge council to be cautious about adopting a motion without providing administration the opportunity to research how much additional work this will be to accomplish and whether it's even possible. So, Councillor Jones, any comments?
I agree with what you're saying. I think this is needed. Could be implemented today. I know we'd have. See, Jim, take on it.
We can't hear you back.
I'm sorry. I said I'd like to hear the CAO's take on it. I think there'll be a lot of extra work. I don't think it could be done today, but it is something that we should look at trying to do.
Okay, Councillor Coates.
On my report, I'm against it for the reason that immediately, we've been waiting now, this is to December 2024. And we haven't got a statement from our auditors from 2023.
Mhm.
So it takes time to get something done like that. I think it has to be done, but can't be me.
All right, thank you. Councillor Land.
Thank you. I think it is warranted, but I think there's a lot of cleanup we need to be done first. To have it immediately implemented, no, it's not in the cards. We're behind now on the things. We need to get caught up, then we need to get things structured a little stronger. But I would like to hear what the CAO has to say for information.
Councillor Elderkin.
I would agree with all the comments around the table. I think it is a need that we're looking for some subunit information. And I think one of your questions, Mayor, was why? Because that's where our tax dollar stems from. So when you're reporting back to your constituents, that's where it comes from, that this is why your rate is the way it is, because it's based on the information that's on those subunit lines. So that's why,
Right.
That's the why. Can it be having a little bit of an accounting background? Can it be done effective immediately? Probably not, would be my feel, but I'll let the CAO explain. I feel that it can't be done effective immediately. I think it is something we can certainly work with administration to get what we need, what we're looking for. And I think we've made some strides and we can make a few more strides and get there. I'll let the CAO.
Deputy Mayor.
So I think it's important we understand that what we've just heard here is really indicative of we have been raising tax revenue from our constituents in an uneven way. That the individual, we call them subunits or taxation areas. We have 8 of them, 3 former villages, 5 former LSD areas. We're raising tax revenue from those different groups with different tax rates. And yet we're saying we can't even implement a reporting capability up till now.
Right.
And this is, to me, unbelievable that we're telling people your tax rate needs to be higher than that person because presumably your services cost more, and that's why, or you get more services. But we're unable and not even seemingly prepared to report to the people how their tax money was spent in their subunit or not. Right? To me, it's unbelievable that we aren't already doing this and that we're using the inability to implement as a reason not to do it.
What I would say, Deputy Mayor Arrow, is that, as you know, that the different tax rates were what we inherited from the province of New Brunswick during the governance reform process. We are in the process. We have been changing those. And the hope is that this year, that all the local district tax rates will be blended into one. So to answer your question, the hope is that that will happen. Whether it does will depend on the will of this council. So let me speak. The whole issue of taxation, there seems to be this feeling that taxation is something that's done by ward. It's not. Taxation is done by subunits, which is by property assessment for each and every individual property owner. So that's how taxes are collected. So it's not appropriate or correct to say that one ward collects more taxes than anybody else. We're all taxpayers. We all contribute. There are shared services that we all pay unequally, and I will add that we don't all pay equally for that because of the inside-outside rate and a former subsidy that has existed. We're having those deliberations in council during the budget deliberation process. What I'm saying is we have not been able to report by, because if you report by subunit, it's really by ward.
No.
Well, by subunit is the Coverdale is an example, Hillsborough, the former village of Alma, former village of Hillsborough. Those are all essentially by subunit. They're not exactly by ward, but really they kind of are. So to report on that right now, what I'm saying is that our administration is not in a position to do that. If we provide them the additional resources to do that, and in fact increase costs, it can probably be done. But to what end? What is the goal of doing that? If we blend all the tax rates for the local districts together and the former villages together, then what's the goal of this exercise?
So this is what I said in my opening remarks, is if we get to the point that we have collapsed the tax rates, I said that.
Right.
The need for this
I know.
goes away.
Mm-hmm.
But until such time, there's in a way, an urgent need for showing our taxpayers how their money is being spent. And when you collect in an uneven manner, and it's not by ward. For instance, I'm Ward 1. I have 2 different taxation areas,
right,
subunits in my ward.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Harvey LSD and the Alma.
Right.
Well, actually, I have 3. I have the Alma LSD and the Alma Village.
Right.
And each of those has a different tax rate, or certainly they did. Now we're collapsed, I think, maybe to 2 out of the
Correct.
3. So we're collecting money in an unequal way and not reporting to the people at all. And we have not done so for 2 years.
Right.
And
I won't disagree. I won't disagree.
I don't know
what I will
want to support this, because otherwise what we're doing is to our constituents and taxpayers, in a way, it's like, trust us.
So I will ask our chief administrative officer to speak about this. Then if the motion stands as is, there will be a vote, recognizing that if there is a vote and it's supported, we are setting them up to fail because they're not in a position to report on. What they are in a position to report on is by category of expenditure, if it's a shared expense, how much was budgeted and how much was spent. That's fairly simple to do.
And that's not actually the areas of most concern, right? Because the expenditures that are shared, it minus the inside-outside rate, which is a small differential,
Mm-hmm.
by definition, we're all paying equally for that kind of service, whether it's the library. So it's not so important, in my view, to be able to report on the subunits for the library. It's the other things that are so-called local expenses, which are anything other than shared, is by definition being raised from a subunit, a taxation area.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we're not prepared to report to them, to tell them, we raised $20,000 from you in Hillsborough Village for this service.
Right.
And it got spent or didn't, or we overspent or underspent. We're not even doing that.
We are really, anyway, I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm going to ask our chief administrative officer to speak. And then after that, if council wants to vote on the motion that's in front of us, we will vote on the motion. But as it stands right now, I'm not comfortable with their ability to do that, and I will not be supporting the motion. So,
I don't really have a lot to add. I mean, I don't have my treasurer here for one. We would like the opportunity to weigh in on it and create a council report form and come back to you with information. Our initial research, this is not the level of reporting that's done at the council in any of the places that we've looked at and spoken to. We are in the process of having our processes in the financial department analyzed by E6. And we brought it up to them yesterday, and they had said that we should refrain from making any changes until their recommendations come through. If they're then bound by a certain decision of council before they've had an opportunity to weigh in on what we're reporting, what our processes are, what we should be changing, then that may make it difficult for them to come back with the recommendations that they're hoping to come back on. So I would ask if council could give us some time to explore it further. I agree we don't have processes in place that specifically, if an invoice comes in, are we paying it from coding it to 5 different places? That's going to increase workload. It has implications and an impact on the administration, and we'd like the opportunity to explore it a bit further and weigh in.
So,
and it is not the level of reporting that councils normally receive from everything that we've talked to in all other municipalities.
so
Can I ask a question?
yes, Councillor Elderkin.
What's the thing, I don't remember the name you just called the
E6,
assessment.
they're called E6.
Right. When are we expected to see this report of the recommendations or?
We're hoping by the end of this year, so it's already December, but we had a full day meeting with them yesterday. They're asking for different samplings of our different reports, and they're looking into our general ledgers and that sort of thing, and then they'll come back with their full recommendation.
And by recommendations means they're going to give an assessment of efficiencies or deficiencies that are happening within the accounting process.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Absolutely. And some of it is you could, increase the different modules you have in your current, we use Sage. So we could have different modules in Sage that can help streamline some of our processes, that can help with our reporting. You have different ways, that we can, it's really kind of processes, but they create a gap analysis and a report on where we should be improving and where we're doing okay.
Does that answer your questions? Yep. So, we can either vote on it now, or there can be a motion raised to table this motion.
I would like to make a motion to table it
To table?
based on the.
Well, just motion to table by Councillor Elderkin. Is there a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Jonah. So the motion to table has been tabled. Any discussion on the motion to table? Councillor Elderkin.
Based on the information that we're getting from around the table tonight, I think we need to give administration, they're obviously in a process right now that they need to finish. And I think from that report, which I'm assuming will come to council.
Absolutely.
Of the efficiencies and deficiencies, from there, we can get a better understanding of where we are and work with administration to get the reporting that we need. I do feel we need better reporting to council. But I think for now, I don't. I think now I'm more comfortable with tabling it till this report gets complete.
Thank you. Anyone else on the motion to table? Deputy Mayor?
The only thing I'd like to clarify here is that the reason why this motion is before us today is because when this subject has been raised for the last year, on many occasions by myself, by Councillor Ward Russell and others, there was ample opportunity at that point to have full council report forms. I think there might have even been one at one point. And to debate this fully. In the end, there was a determination made that the only way that this was going to go forward or not was through a motion. And so we started that in October, I believe. There was a notice of motion. So it's not as if this has just been a brand new issue. It's not. It's been for a long time. So I'm okay to table this in the sense that it's not to table to defer I'm hoping that this is table for further study. I notice when we're looking through our Robert's Rules of Orders and our meeting conduct bylaw, that if there's a motion like this that clearly would burden administration, and the motion makes mention of it, there's a recognition that there's an administration burden to do this, that the administration always has the opportunity to sort of do a timeout. We would like to report back to council the implications of this. I'm okay for that. I wish that had already happened, but it hasn't. Right. So I would agree to table this under the understanding that it's not just pushed to the side, that we're meaningfully trying to figure out what to do, and comparing us to other municipalities is not good enough, because we have an unusual municipality here in terms of the number of subunits and the types of subunits that were merged. And I think we all agree that if we end up getting into unified tax rates, the need for this essentially disappears, but we're not there yet.
Correct. Anyone else? And I happen to be in agreement with the motion to table for the reasons given by yourself and by Councillor Elderkin. I think if the suggestion is that we're somehow playing a shell game with our reporting, our treasurer provides reports to committee of the whole at every meeting, and those reports are becoming increasingly beneficial. And they're reported on by line item, which was a change that recently occurred. And so if there's a cost of policing, then we know where we are with the payments to the cost of policing. The cost of policing is, it's a shared item, but shared by subunit. And there are specific costs to each one of the subunits. So if the suggestion is that we're kind of playing a shell game and we can't report on those things, we actually can right at the moment. It's just like we have to have a better understanding of how in-depth that reporting needs to be, and what the additional administrative burden will be, and what the benefit will be to the municipality, and at the same time, taxpayers, because we do have a requirement to be accountable to our taxpayers. So, yes, Councillor Elder.
I think, as I said earlier, I think we're making strides moving forward. I think part of the concern for me is when you have a line item, whether it's over or under budget, it's nice to get the description of why. So if we budgeted something for 20,000 and there's 50,000, this is why. That's, which is not, maybe not to the level of subunit, but it's giving a description of why we're over budget or why we're under budget. Because at the end of the day, our tax dollars, our tax rate is based on what we put in that line item at the beginning of the budget.
And my comment to that is, I believe council has the opportunity to ask those very questions, and we get answers from our treasurer, do we not?
We do, absolutely.
Okay.
My point is, if we're giving the information, we'll have less questions. That's what I'm saying. Let's try and feed us a little more information to stop the less questions, with the understanding that we see it in advance.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
The last comment I'd like to make is that this is not really magic. We're already doing this for the utility. So the water and sewer budget is actually a single budget that is reported to the province. But we are running 3 separate utilities, each with their own water and sewer rate. And it's totally required that when monies are spent, that it's attributed to the different utilities.
Right.
And until such time we have a common water and sewer rate, which, as you know, I've championed for, but we're not there yet, it's necessary, and we do our accounting according to the 3 separate utilities. There's no difference, in my view, between that, which we're able to do, seemingly, and the taxation areas for the general operating budget.
Right. So, as Well, I'm not going to comment any further. So anyone else have any comments? So on the motion, Councillor Ward Russell. Correct. Well, we haven't tabled it yet. There's a vote. So on the question, on the motion to table, all in favor signify by stating aye. Opposed, if any. Councillor Ward Russell, did you vote? Okay, so the motion's adopted unanimous. So thank you very much. And we'll allow administration to review the impacts that this will have, and with the guidance of E6, which I'm really not that familiar with E6, we'll come back with some recommendations to council. All right. The second motion is a motion related to the Harvey Hall grant request. The Harvey Hall organization has requested a grant to renovate a washroom in their community building. The CAO has shared a council report form with the recommendations. A motion is required to further consider this request. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I believe my only way to move forward is to make the motion. Correct, we're unable to have a discussion about this because I believe that this has been
Well,
presented.
we need a motion. If you want to have some discussion about it, we need a motion.
I move that council approve a grant of $4,865 to Harvey Hall Company to cover the cost to upgrade their bathroom facility.
So moved by Deputy Mayor Arrow. Is there a seconder on that motion?
I'll second the motion to be.
So seconded by Councillor Elderkin. Any discussion on the motion? Now we can have a discussion. Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'm surprised that this is on the agenda and it's being presented in this way. What I have understood when I first saw this request from the Harvey Hall Company is that this would be considered as part of all of the submissions that we had for 2025. I thought that this was part of the 2025. What I recall happening here is that it's just leading up to the initial budget deliberations. We received a council report form that had a list of many previous grantees for grants in the community. And that there were, although that was a comprehensive list of previous grantees, it was missing a number of our major grantees from 2024. Harvey Hall was one of them. Friends of Fundy, I believe, was another one. Maybe Alma Rec Council. I think there was a number of them that were missing. And since that time, they've been coming in. And every time one came in, we've been deciding as council, let's not consider this in isolation. Let's consider it as part of the budget deliberations and all our other grant requests. And we've been consistently pushing that off for that discussion, which is still not happening. And I believe that this is no different than those other ones. It's just somehow it's being treated differently. But I believe we should take this request, which is a bona fide request, and add it to these other requests that are outstanding for us to consider. That's what I believe we should be doing. So if that means to table this, which I think that's what it would mean, that I'm not sure that there's support to pass this right now. I'm not even sure I really support it because I would like to do this as part of all of our grant requests.
I could clarify.
Yes, Ms. Sabrin?
Specifically in the request, it says that the acquiring this funding by December 31st, 2024 allows us to work with the plumbing contractors, schedule and supply chain. So
Okay.
the request would have to go through on the 2024 budget, not the 2025 budget. So that's why it was
Or we
treated in
just
this way.
defer it and
So there's really two options at this point. One is to table the motion until further, or the motion gets defeated. That's another way to deal with it, or the motion gets passed, in which case we have to pay. So, Councillor Elderkin, you seconded the motion. Any comments or?
No, I am agreeing with Councillor Arrow. I think At this moment in time, I'm not supportive of the motion.
Great, thank you. Anyone else?
I also agree with Councillor, you discussed this earlier, about the grant money, putting it together and making it for 2025. So I as well,
We can't hear you.
sorry, I as well would be willing to table this and put it off till we sit down and discuss the rest of it in a group and see what the final number is for all. That would be my motion.
But keep in mind the motion, the requesters are asking for this funding out of this year's budget. Right? So that's the request. So I have a couple of things here. For one, it's to be noted that the requester has already benefited from a funding grant from Fund Albert in 2024. And given the council is currently looking at trying to reduce the amount that we're going to give out in grant funding in 2025 from 44,200. Right now, we're still going through the budget deliberations, but it's considerably less than that. Is it wise to continue to provide grants out of 2024 funds and not reduce grants immediately? So is it wise for us to spend whatever money we have left over rather than be mindful that next year it could be significantly reduced from that? So we need to be mindful of that. So for that reason, I will not be supporting this request for funding from 2024 budget.
So I would like to move that we table this motion.
It would require someone to second the motion. There's currently no one to second the motion. So we go back to the original motion. Back to the original motion that was to pay the $4,865. Is everyone ready for the question? On the question, all in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
So noted that Deputy Mayor Arrow votes aye. All opposed to the motion state nay.
Nay.
And I will state nay, as I stated in my comments. So the motion's defeated. Thank you very much. That doesn't mean it can't become part of a conversation for the 2025 budget. We can add that too. Thank you. Item C, motion related to the Rural Credit Union lease request. Following a presentation by Mr. Patrick Kemp of Forestdale Homes, council may wish to proceed with a motion to instruct administration to research the possibility of developing a lease that would see the municipality lease the former Riverside-Albert municipal office to pave the way for a potential rural credit union. A motion would be required. A motion to rescind the previous motion to sell the building is not necessary at this time, but there could be a motion right now to instruct council. Is someone prepared to make that motion?
Whereas the council has received a request for leasing a building at 5823 King Street in Riverside-Albert, be it resolved that the council hereby directs the administration to 1, conduct a thorough review of the lease building request, 2, provide detailed recommendations to the council, including an assessment of the financial implications, an evaluation of the alignment with municipal strategic goals, any potential benefits or drawbacks of the lease agreement, suggested terms and conditions for the lease agreement. Be it further resolved that the administration present these recommendations at the committee of the whole meeting scheduled for January 21st, 2025.
So moved by Councillor Elderkin. Is there a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Coates. Any discussion on the motion? And this is to instruct administration to come back with an assessment of what the lease would involve.
Is there, I am supportive of this, as there has been a previous presentation that, this could be very beneficial for all of Fundy Albert with their plans. They do have a need. They are ready to lease if we're interested. So, I'm somewhat disappointed that this isn't happening until January because it's been brought up for a couple months now. But we'll see what happens. But he has sent a proposal, I believe, to the CAO of the thoughts. Will that get shared with all of council so that they know what
It'll be included in the council report form.
for the January meeting? Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councillor Land.
I'd support this in the acknowledgement that we get the information before we make that final decision, because we already did make a motion to sell it.
Correct.
It's on the books. So we have to either make it right one way or the other. But I'm interested to see the timeline on this, the money that's going to come in to benefit us, and for how long they want to incur the lease. Just my thoughts.
Thank you. And the motion that is currently with administration by this council was to sell the building, but they've been instructed to hold off until we sort this matter out. Anyone else have any comments to provide? Yes, Councilor Ward Russell?
I definitely would support this, but I am quite disappointed that it was not until January. Feel that, that we were well aware of this request for probably 2 months now. So it would have been nice to see this looked after in time.
Correct.
If
Our
I
Chief
could just-
Administrative Officer?
So the presentation was made at the council meeting on November 5th. And this is the first opportunity that council has been given the opportunity to instruct the administration to start working on this. So we don't make those rules at the committee of the whole. So we were not instructed to start working on anything until right now. So it's really the next opportunity for us to present, because 2 weeks is not enough time to do a thorough report, would be January committee of the whole. So although it was presented a month ago, the administration was not given any kind of instructions, use the word again, instructions on it.
Formal instructions. Okay. All ready for the question? On the question related to the motion as presented, signify by stating aye. Opposed, if any? The motion's adopted unanimously. The next item 7D, which is the Committee of the Whole, November 19th, 2024. There's a draft resolution to nominate someone from Fundy Albert to receive a King Charles III Coronation Medal and to nominate 2 alternates. If someone would be so kind to read that motion, please. Councillor Land?
Whereas the municipality of Fundy Albert has been requested to nominate one person to receive the King Charles III Coronation Medal and 2 alternate names. And whereas the Council of Fundy Albert has solicited nominations from the community to receive this prestigious award, be it resolved that the Council of Fundy Albert recommends the awarding of the King Charles III Coronation Medal to Fundy Albert resident Kathy Weir. Be it further resolved that the names of the alternate nominees, Fundy Albert residents Don McLean and Daniel
Sachetto?
Sanchetta, thank you, be included in this recommendation to Fundy Royal Matter. Fundy Royal Member of Parliament, Rob Wall.
So moved by Councillor Land. Is there a seconder on that motion? Seconded by Councillor Elderkin. Any questions on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by stating aye. Opposed, if any? The motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number, that was it for the Committee of the Whole. Oh, sorry. Council may wish to proceed with a motion to instruct administration to research the potential to lease certain parcels of municipal land to the Chipoti Communities Revitalization Committee. If someone would be so kind as to read that motion, please.
Whereas the council has received a request for leasing the property at PID number 006-29311 in Riverside-Albert, be it resolved that council hereby directs the administration, 1, to conduct a thorough review of the lease building request, 2, provide detailed recommendations to the council, including an assessment of the financial implications and evaluation of the alignment with municipal strategic goals, any potential benefits or drawbacks of the lease agreement, suggested terms and conditions for the lease agreement. Be it further resolved that the administration presents these recommendations at the Committee of the Whole meeting scheduled for January 21st, 2025.
So moved by Councillor Elderkin, seconded by Councillor Land. Any discussion on the motion? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I see it list, so just for the benefit of those who are watching and here tonight, this is to the purpose of this motion and potential lease agreement is for the repositioning of the lighthouse to one of the 4 corners in Riverside-Albert. That land is owned by the municipality.
Correct.
And I see it's 1 PID number. I seem to recall having a conversation with, a recent conversation with the CCRC member that indicated that there may be more than one PID involved. Are you aware of that?
My understanding was it's shouldered on other PIDs, but the one that they were interested in leasing is only really a portion of that PID. But we will investigate that further and provide more information in January.
Okay, and I think that if the understanding among council is if this actually ends up straddling some other PID, we should go ahead with this, even though not having to force us back into doing a motion, right? Because it's really a study for this.
Yeah,
So I'm
it's a
supportive of
recommendation. Right. Any other comments for the vote? If not, on the question, all in favor signify by stating aye. Opposed, if any? Motion's carried unanimously. We'll now move on to committee updates. Is there anything to report from the Emergency Measures Committee?
The only thing, for the emergency company, committee is that, we're waiting for the, Southeastern Regional Commission are doing a study to do an overall emergency program.
All right,
I'm gonna get that, we'll review it. And get
Right.
our-
great. Thank you very much. Anything to report from the Personnel Committee? No report? Anything to report from the Water and Wastewater Bylaw Consolidation Committee?
Yes, there's two things here. Item number one is within the past month, finally, I was able to forward to administration and the members of council who are on that committee the draft bylaw wording, which is in the order of almost 60 pages, I think, and the version 5 of the rate structure proposal. And the purpose of forwarding these to administration was to ask them, they had previously agreed to review those from their perspective. So that would be the text of the bylaw for its relevance and accuracy for the Fundy-Albert context. And for the rate structure proposal is to run the proposal against our current user base to see what implications it would have. So that's been received presumably by you, so that they have work to do. The item that I need to do now as chair of this committee is to go back, I'm overdue, but go back to the membership and update them on this and schedule a meeting, but it will still probably not be in the spring because I don't think there's any point in having the meeting until we get the input back to see if we're on the right track here.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything to report on the Fundy-Albert Rural Plan Consolidation Committee?
Well,
Deputy Mayor?
so Councillor Elderkin and Councillor Jonah and myself are involved on that. And I know from some of the recent correspondence from you, Mayor Rochelle, where some of the strategic plan sessions, for instance, there was feedback, and I think I've also heard this personally myself, about how is membership for this committee or any of the other committees actually being established.
Mhm.
We know from the resolution for this committee, for the Fundy-Albert Rural Plan Consolidation Committee, we know the resolution specifically calls for a minimum of one member of the public from each of the 4 planning areas.
Mhm.
So we have 4 rural plans right now that we're consolidating. So on the committee, there's the members of council that are involved. And we need to have members from our community. I'm wondering whether to honor some of the need for transparency and such, I'm throwing this out to the group here now. If you're in agreement, whether we could ask administration to put out a call through our communication channels for interested members of the community who want to be involved in this committee to put their name forward through administration, they need to indicate their name, the planning area that they reside in, because we need to have minimum one committee member from each of the 4 planning areas. Hillsborough Village, Alma Village, Riverside-Albert Village, and the Westmoreland-Albert Rural Plan area, which are really the LSD areas. And that people should indicate where they live, like which planning area, their name, and if they have any previous experience with planning, or I think that they should indicate that, because that could be a preference for us if we're needing to choose. And that those names either go directly to you for selecting Mayor Rochelle, or we bring those to council to pick. But is there any feeling on that?
I personally think that reaching out to the community is the best approach. It is a standard approach by municipalities to seek public involvement and for folks to indicate why they would, A, why they want to be on the committee, and B, what they could bring to the committee, and then make the selection as a result of that. It would avoid the perception that we're just handpicking people at will. And so it would be a preferred approach, and it's one that's used in many municipalities.
So if we could, maybe I need to perhaps draft what that call would look like, and I'll forward it to you both.
And at some point, there should be a terms of reference developed for the Fundy-Albert Rural Plan Consolidation.
Well, most of the actual scope of what the committee is to do, we put in the resolution on purpose. So it's actually there. The purpose of the committee is in the resolution. So what now, it's a matter of getting the membership and then calling the first meeting and going forward. The link to that is a question that I have. Is it true that Kurt Brewer is no longer the planner assigned to us? That is,
He's left the commission.
do we have, has our planner been named?
Yeah, and she has volunteered to come in and speak at your first meeting, so she's just waiting for that invitation.
Okay, what's their name?
Her name's Laura, but I she's over that, which I don't definitely.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Just
Yes,
to comment.
Councillor Alderton. Yep.
I don't know what your urgency on this, but I don't think putting a call in for this before the season is over for the month
Right,
of December is unnecessary. I don't think this is something immediate. It can wait till the move.
I think we should start right in the new year, like all.
Yeah.
For members.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Yes, Councillor Jonah.
Thank you. I mean, but an on-functioning committee is too many people. It's not a functioning committee. So do we want 1 or 2 from each area? Do we want 5 from each area? There's something discussion that we need to have.
The difficulty,
I know we did in the resolution, pretty sure it's a minimum of 1 per area. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
the difficulty is what the needs are in Lower Coverdale as an LSD area are totally different. What the needs are in Parish and High. But they're both under the same plan.
Might I suggest that the committee get together and have a conversation about what you want that to look like, and then come back to council? Because normally a terms of reference for a committee is approved by council. If there is a terms of reference, any other committees that we've had have terms of references that are approved by this council.
Yeah, what was a little bit different here is that the resolution for this is quite specific. I have to go back.
Number 8, reports from administration, which I understand there are no reports to provide.
None at this time. No.
Number 9, bylaws. There are no bylaws for consideration at this meeting. Item number 10, mayor and council statements and inquiries. We'll start with Councillor Ward Russell.
There's a couple things that tonight, but there is an IWK box in front of the Lower Coverdale Baptist Church that needs to be cleaned up. So I have called the company and haven't heard back yet, so there should be some follow up there. Um, Emails have been sent to DTI, major damage by plows from the last storm in the Lower Carmel area. There's over 5 feet of sod that is now covering the culverts. If we do get heavy rain, this will result in no place for the water to go. I guess at this time as well, this is the last official council meeting of 2024. So I'd like to wish all the residents of Albert a wonderful holidays.
Thank you. Councillor Elderkin.
And just a couple things for me. I wanted to say thank you to the whole community of Fundy-Albert for everything they've done to have a very successful Christmas in the country. I was unable to attend any of the events, but I've gotten some fantastic reports that it was busy all the way through Fundy-Albert, so it's nice to see. I want to say thank you to the Public Works for getting the Christmas trees up in each of the former villages. It was nice to see. And I wanted to acknowledge that the Christmas spirit is still alive in Alma, because I see on social media that the lobster trap is alive. So thank you to Mr. Mock for making it happen.
Thank you. Councillor Land.
I'd like to also thank Mr. Rossiter for his efforts in putting up the tree. He's quite a character. Anyways, kudos to him. And also I'd like to thank all the organizers and the participants of the
Christmas in the country.
Christmas in the country. Yeah, thank you. A little dry there. There's a lot of cars around, a lot of people moving. I was at Hillsborough and it was packed. It was good to see that spirit. And there's probably a lot of dollars spent, and that helps everyone throughout what they want.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Earl.
Yes, I have a few things here. Staying with the Christmas theme for a moment. Also, I attended a number of Christmas in the country, and it was really fantastic. So that was a great community effort, and I'm glad that we helped in that, actually. And I know they appreciated that in terms of the printing of the publicity and the brochures and such, and so that was very good. I want to thank very much the community and Fundy-Albert for the 2 Christmas trees that we have in Alma. I want to thank Public Works for putting up the beautiful tree in our in front of the cultural center, and it's great. And then, of course, Mr. Rossiter and perhaps others who may have been helping him. The lobster trap tree is in a fantastic location. I personally was up touching it today. I couldn't believe it, overlooking the harbor. It's fantastic, and so that's really, really good. I'm very impressed. I want to thank the rink for the people who have done the Renaissance. Any council members, next time you're in Alma, you've got to drop by the rink. There's been an awful lot of renovations on the skating rink boards and the building itself. So that's volunteer efforts by a lot of people happening. And lastly, I just want to provide the Fundy National Park update that I get regularly from our liaison folks as the liaison officer. I'll just read a few things here, some stats. Fundy National Park experienced a strong operational season with over 287,000 visits from May to October of this year, a 6% increase from 2023. Camping also saw noticeable growth, with October site nights rising by 20% to 3,270, and a record-breaking 50,000 site nights for the peak season, surpassing the previous high set in 2017. So these are some fantastic stats that Fundy National Park has put out. They just wanted to highlight a few upcoming things. The annual Christmas bird count is on December 20th. That's been going for 60 continuous years at Fundy National Park. And that their winter offer is alive and well. All sorts of activities happening in the bowl, the Chignecto Pavilion, winter trails. And lastly, people may be interested to know that the camping reservations for the 2025 season, the reservation launches on Friday, February 7th at 8 a.m. Atlantic time. So we can look forward to lots of great things in Fundy National Park for 2025.
Great. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Arrow. Councillor Jonah.
That, great report on that.
Yeah.
I too like to echo the other councillors, the Christmas in the Country organizers, did a fantastic job. Attended, and kudos to them, congratulations. Ward 4, this Saturday, we have a couple events. At 8 o'clock, the Kiwanis is having their monthly buffet breakfast, it's always well attended, 10. And then at 6:30 is the yearly Christmas parade in Hillsborough. Starts at the school parking lot, goes down Academy Street, down Main to Steve Street. And following that, Santa will be at the Kiwanis greeting the kids. And there'll be treat bags and hot chocolate hanging out there. So everybody come to the village and good day on Saturday.
Thank you, Councillor Jonah. Councillor Coates.
I attended the presentation of the strategic plan on November 26th by Mayor Shaw. We didn't have a lot of people, but there was a few questions that was asked, and went quite well. NB Power has been trimming lines on 910 last week and this week. I hope they keep on going right through because Rosedale and parts of Portal Creek was out of power the last storm from for 12 hours due to trees. And then I've got a pat in the back, I guess, for the CAO solved the complaint from a resident about Plan 60 on slow on a subdivision. It was the owner not keeping in touch with Plan 60, 360. It was all in, so great response right there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Coates. So I want to congratulate Fundy Tourism, the organizers, and all the businesses that took part in Christmas in the Country event over the weekend. I did manage to get out to a few events. Based on the comments that I've seen, it was a huge success, so congratulations to everyone. A reminder, and Councillor Jonah kind of alluded to this, the Christmas parade this coming Saturday, and there's a number of events. Given the fact that there wasn't actually a Christmas parade in Moncton, I think we can probably expect to see quite a few people down. So hope to see all of our fellow councillors in Hillsborough on Saturday. The Golf Club Road culvert update. The project will not be proceeding this fall as anticipated because of delays in us receiving our audited financial statements necessary to secure borrowing authority, which may or may not be necessary, but nonetheless, this, even though I'm confident that the project will be refunded through the Disaster Financial Assistance Program. I've been in contact with the program coordinator who confirmed that the delay will not impact our continued eligibility for the program. Once opened for a specific event, the program remains valid for a 4-year period. The most recent provincial election will not impact that at all. Now, whether or not a federal election impacts it, he is highly doubtful because once the program has been made available, he's not aware of any situation where that has changed. So we're still considered eligible. So we will have to wait until June of 2025 before any work or any tender can be awarded. And so at some period in the future, council will need to decide how they wish to proceed, whether they wish to retender the process, which is always a possibility. So council will need to make a determination of that. On the NB Power line work, I was contacted by a New Brunswick Power representative this morning to inform me that single and three-phase power lines between Hillsborough and Alma are being worked on to clear trees around them. The circuit is reported to be one of the worst in the province in terms of reported outages. The representative from NB Power stated that trees will be cleared to 12 feet on either side of the trees, will include work by them on private property, and will result in brush being mulched. My sense is that they were reaching out to me to give us a heads up that if we get complaints from property owners that people are cutting down their trees, that's likely the result of it. But they are covered by an easement on those lines, so they have full right to clear them. And they're doing a thorough job so that they don't have to come back in 3 or 4 years and do some work. There's a possibility that some mulching work may not be able to be completed until the spring if snowfall becomes an issue. While this may be seen as an inconvenience to property owners, it will improve the situation with unexpected power outages. And last but not least, I'd like to remind everyone that we do have budget deliberations continuing tomorrow evening at 5:30 at the Coronation Centre in Hillsborough. I would urge all residents, whether they're here or in person, to attend that, to hear the amount of deliberations that are happening with this council towards the budget. And it's all in the goal of keeping the rates as reasonable as possible. So there are no notice of motions and resolutions, I believe. Now is the opportunity for public comments and statements. I believe, Ms. Christome, you had your hand up.
Attending the budget deliberations so that we can all hear it.
Are we getting
I am not renting again. We rented equipment. I am not an AV specialist, so we ended up getting video and no audio. And but the Kiwanis Center does have a microphone system, so
Yes.
we will be using that.
Yes.
But we did the rental of the microphones, and none of that really worked last time. So lesson learned. But the roving council meetings makes it very difficult to do things like that because we have to lug everything to each location. But so that's why we moved it to the Kiwanis for the last one.
Or hopefully the last one.
Hopefully less.
Are there any other public comments and statements?
I sent a letter to the estimate for Village of Bingo, but we had wondered what happened to it. It's a resource of the community, and I hadn't gotten an answer. Wonder what you can tell us about that.
I have no further information. I've asked Public Works to look around and see what they found. I mean, I wasn't here prior to this year. I'll go back up and look in the village office again. I don't recall seeing anything when I was there. The lit board, I never saw that in that village office, but if anybody has any information on it, I'd be willing to listen. But we don't have asset tags on a lot of that stuff, so I don't know where I don't know where it came out of. You said it came out of the activity center, but where did they put it after that?
Light up over.
Yeah,
The drum.
the drum we already gave to you, yeah.
Was generously donated money as a gift to the Harvey Hall. But that's the extent of it. So we wondered if someone could pinpoint where the rest of it went.
If there's somebody on the former council that remembers,
What was the last time it was seen?
It was taken down for the H2O show because bingo was no longer being posted. And we thought it went to Riverside-Albert. It's lost its way.
God, this weekend, I upstairs, the former Mayor Short was actually here. I don't know what I asked her, but she's around.
I know how to reach former Mayor Short, so I'll reach out to her.
So you think it came to Riverside? Because we never had a bingo in Riverside.
That's what I was told.
But it came to the village or it came to an organization outside the village?
I'll reach out to former Mayor Short. See if we can locate it. Yes, Shauna?
I just insurance for the recreation out on the center. So it is kind of the urgent.
Okay, thank you.
They were why the village, the Elmo Rink Council was able to obtain insurance.
So in reality is that most rinks, most playgrounds, most recreation places are owned by municipality. So it makes it. There's been changes to the insurance. Risk and growth. This point in our life. And so they are not willing to insure us. We have multiple uses in the playground and have rain in it. Or rain. We had an MOU in place well, so it was going well, but now we need to do something to renew it again, so we continue our good work.
All right,
Yes.
so thank you. Anyone else? Before we move into in camera. So there are two matters for council's attention in closed session. One is a matter in accordance with section 68(1)J of the Local Governance Act. The other, a matter in accordance with section 60. Well, there's 61C, I believe, C of the Local Governance Act. I'll accept a motion to move into closed session. So moved by Councilor Land, seconded by Councilor Eldrick. All in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, if any. Motion carried. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you for attending.